Review of graphs. Yes. Yes. Okay, so the video didn't record like I thought it was going to. I might have to do a quick summary. All right, then we were going to tangent and cotangent. Y equals tangent. And this may or may not take some memorization on your part. But you can figure out from the unit circle which this is by figuring out tangent of 0. Which is tangent again? Y over x or x over y? Y over x. So tell me at 0, 0, what's tangent going to be? 0. So tangent goes like this. It goes through the origin. That's how I remember it. And then it has asymptotes here at pi over 2, which we looked at a minute ago. That is where the x value is 0 because 1 over 0 is undefined, which makes it an asymptote. It happens every pi over 2, and the distance between them is pi. That makes the period pi. It's halfway around the unit circle. And then it makes the asymptotes at pi over 2 plus k pi, because you add a pi. The next one would look like this and would be pi away. So that's going to be 3 pi over 2. It's always a distance of pi in between them. And then 6, y equals cotangent of whatever the angle is, doesn't go through the origin. In fact, at 0, when you flip it over, if you said cotangent is x over y, this one is 1 over 0. It's undefined at 0. The asymptotes are on the axis. And then at pi, 2 pi. But this one goes backwards compared to tangent. So you might have to be able to tell the difference between tangent and cotangent. And you could do that by testing points if you had to. Those are the 6 graphs. For very hard ones, what I might expect you to be able to do is to pick out the stuff, right? So be able to take the equation and tell me about this being the midline shift. Maybe 39 is past what we would do. This being the midline shift, the 1. This being phase shift when it's factored out, like over here. This being the period change, and then the amplitude from the front. So for very complicated ones, maybe I'm just asking for the stuff. And then to be able to graph some simple ones, I would say that the Khan Academy is hard, which is why it prepares you for easier graphing that I would ask you to do on paper. So graphing I would ask you to do on paper would be way easier than the Khan Academy. But I suggest you do the Khan Academy for practice. 47 we were also going to do, which I haven't done yet. 47. So 47 would be one where I wouldn't want you to graph it. But I would want you to be able to pick out all of the amplitude and that kind of stuff. So 40, what did I say it was? 47. Thank you. Okay, so g of x equals 2 plus 5/6 secant 1/2 x minus pi. Oops, I got too many x's. Well, that's interesting. It's got x twice. Fun. So, what does a 2 do?
No, it's the up or down.
Up or down. So no, it's not amplitude, is it? It's the midline. Because I didn't switch the order this time. Maybe it's easier to switch the order. How about 5/6? Amplitude. Okay, secant These are going to be use with cosine, like note to self. Okay, and then this. Normally we factor out the 1/2, but that's not going to help me. What do I need to factor here? The x. No, let's factor out the x and see what happens. They both have x. If I take that out, I have 1/2 minus pi. That's interesting. So here's what I've got so far. I've got 5/6 secant of 1/2 minus pi times x plus 2. So this is b. That's weird. Santino, are you okay? Or you have a question? Okay, just a second. So 47 is weird.
So with that,
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
So what's the period? Whoa.
The period 2 pi over 1/2 minus.
Yeah. 1/2 minus pi. I doubt I would quiz you on something like that, but it's a good thinking problem. When we write b in front of x, like that's what we have. We don't have plus or minus x. There's no phase shift here. There's no phase shift.
I got -2 pi. I just put a question mark.
So -2 pi? Well, 2 pi with secant is the same period. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Because every 2 pi, so if you start over here, so it's like you just started the wallpaper somewhere else, but you still are going to be the same after that because the period's 2 pi, except for this one's not 2 pi, so that may not work.
it's like -pi.
So we're going to have to go, this is 2 pi, and then this is going to be 1/2 minus 2 pi over 2. If I got a common denominator, like this is a layered fraction, it's really gross. 2 pi over 1 times 2 over 1 minus 2 pi. I mean, I cannot even fathom that I would give you this on a quiz.
Yeah, okay.
But should we practice hard things so that we can tell that they're difficult? Yes. Should we practice them so that we can see that the rules still apply, they just look different? Because we don't add pi to things. Like pi is not like 4. If it was 4, we would totally say that this b value was -3.5. We'd have a number. But when we have pi added to things, it stays 1/2 minus pi. We don't write 3.14 minus or negative plus a half. Yeah.
So what about the questions where you like have to, for period, do like 2 pi over b? Do something with that.
So this is that.
So what is b? Is b like the 1/2 minus pi?
So here's the thing. Every time you have an equation, so in 47 we were given an equation. The number in front of, well, when I rewrote it like this, so it's in front of x, or if I take one that's not as gnarly, take this one.
Yeah.
The number in front represents how fast we go around the unit circle.
That's b.
That's b.
Oh. Okay.
The number in front is b, and it tells. So normally we're just going around the unit circle in a 2 pi sort of fashion. But if somebody says, "Hey, here's a gear, go faster or go slower."
Wait, so then why is like up on the board you have b next to period? Is b the period?
So is there a comma there? It's a comma. You need to know the period, and you need to know b, and you need to know both. But they go together.
So, but is b amplitude? Is that what that's?
No. So amplitude is the number in front here. This is a.
Right.
So the b value, back to a simpler problem, this tells you how fast you're going around the unit circle. This is b. And to find period, you take 2 pi, or in this case tangent pi, and divide it by b. So b is the number in the equation, and you're comparing it to the usual period, which is either 2 pi or pi. So if you have equation, then you have b. If you want to find period equals 2 pi divided by b. That means standard period, and I guess this just is for 4 of them, right? Some of them could be, or pi over b. Standard period divided by the b value in the equation. This tells you if you're going faster or slower around the unit circle. So if you have standard period for sine, and you're told that you're going to do sine of 2 times x, this 2 says we're going to go faster around the unit circle. Does that make sense? 2 times x. So every x we put in, we're going to multiply it by 2. We're going to move around the unit circle faster. Faster around the unit circle, that means that the period for this one is, you get a whole thing like this within pi. So period equals pi. 2 pi divided by 2 equals pi. So the number in the front tells you how fast you're going around the unit circle. But that's the equation that I've kept up on the board in the box so that we won't forget it. 2 pi divided by b. b is the number in the equation. Period is how you look at it on the graph. On paper, because you did some of these on Khan Academy, what could I ask you? Let's say that we have this. All right. Here's a graph. It would continue in the other direction because cosine and sine, they're what kind of waves? Do you remember? Sinusoidal waves. Not quizzing you on that word, but maybe so. So this starts, like I would say, write the equation for this graph, and I would say start or consider the point 0.252 so that everybody would write the same graph. So would you consider this to be a sine or cosine graph?
No.
If I say use this point, you were right, it was cosine. That's confirmed, cosine. It's starting at a maximum. And then let's write all the things that you see. What's A?
2.25.
Okay, what is A?
2.
This is going to go great. Can we draw the midline in? Where would the midline be?
1.
Oh, the midline would be at 1. You should draw on your graph. That will help you. Tell me about amplitude now.
1.
It's 1. So that wasn't meant to be tricky, but I chose one that wasn't on the axis for this reason. So the midline, you can see it. It's y equals 1. We got that down. The amplitude is also 1, right? 1 up and 1 down. They're the same number. So amplitude is 1. The shift up, or the k value, is 1. You told me cosine. I need that. Cosine. That's good. Tell me what else you see. It shifted right 0.25. How do we put right in our equation? Right, so we're going to need x minus 0.25 somewhere in there. What else do you see?
Wouldn't the b be pi because
Okay, what's the period?
it's 2.
is 2. So we need to say that period equals 2 pi divided by b.
B is 2. So B would be pi.
So b equals pi when you solve that. So our equation would be y equals 1 for amplitude, cosine, parentheses, pi, parentheses, x minus 0.25, parentheses, parentheses, plus or minus something? Plus 1. So I need you to draw in the things like midline and stuff. This is a possible kind of problem. Okay? Your homework was definitely harder. Go and practice some graphs, Khan Academy.
Homework is to study.
Homework is to study. Maybe go back and do Khan Academy again. I'm only taking late homework a week from today. I'm not taking today's homework in May for a grade.